open XML. They just basically say, well, we're calling it open. They must be open. It's proprietary. What they have to do now is to remove some of the functionality in these versions of Office. And this means that i4i puts in jeopardy the entire format, which is how people collaborate on things. And if Microsoft has to remove this functionality, then people cannot even collaborate using the phony format they have, and it gives more compelling reasons for ODF to be used, the Open Document Format. So that's been covered in lots of Linux sites, especially places like Rocklaw. It has many ramifications, and it's being used by us to try and persuade Microsoft to stop playing with software patents, because it can hurt them as well in some ways.
Well, shall we move on to the next link you've got? Have you got any more links you want to put forward, Roy, before I make the same offer to Gordon?
Quite a few. I think we all do have some stories we want to talk about. Do you want to go first, or?
Well, basically today I've been just looking at one piece of software. It's another one of my favourite pastimes, which is online role-playing games. So I'm not going to delve into it much now because there's going to be a full article on it once I've played it for a bit longer. But I've been looking at Rhizome, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which is the latest online role-playing game that I've discovered. So that's taken up most of my day today. I'll go over to Gordon. Gordon, is there anything you want to add to the show? Any news headlines that you've got over the last couple of days? Don't want to put you on the spot.
Not as much headlines, no. It was just a final point. It appears my end of the connection is really iffy tonight.
And I think that's...
I was going to say just a final point on the before. I seem to have been going through a tunnel before. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
It's
really quite.
Right. Okay. Right. I wasn't too sure there. Right. It was just a final point on the whole the positioning thing. It seems to me that getting companies to agree to different deals, it's like ensuring a small new startup's position is feasting off the scraps. You're not allowed to come to the main table. You're only allowed to feast off the scraps. You'll always be you'll always be feeding us with license deals. So I think it's positioning for these companies. But yeah, I mean, it appears my connection is really bad tonight. So yeah, I don't have any other links, and that was just a final thought on that last subject. So.
They say about patents in general. Some people
I'll
say...
hand it back to you guys.
Yeah, we have some connection issues. Probably the whole show will have some issues with trying to get a good stream of that. Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. The thing about the patents is some people say it's more of a software patents issue, and some people say the patents in general are supposed to be abolished. And to look at the pharmaceutical patents and how, for example, certain companies will put people's life in jeopardy just so that they can make profit from a patent that they have on a gene or a certain cure or a surgery, and all kinds of medical procedures. And one of the issues we have here is that the patents in general are considered to be a protectionist measure, and all the companies use them for reasons of profit, but they try to justify this as something that's been extremely beneficial to make new inventions or to give incentives to people. Well, it depends what you mean by incentives, and which people, and whether these people are actually receiving the patents, or if they apply for a patent on a company's say, on a certain timesheet, and try to just earn the patent for the company itself. So even when they leave the company, they don't keep their patent. So the companies themselves use these people as so-called innovators. And I've heard from a friend of ours who sometimes hangs out in IRC. His dad earned quite a few patents for a company, but even though his name is down as the so-called inventor. The company kept the patents, and the company is now going around and suing people with these patents and extorting them using the work he did. So he was inventing something, but he has no say about how his monopoly, which the company paid him to get, is using against people in a very malicious way. I think that this company is Thompson, but that's another story. What I thought he could do, and I think teams in favor is trying to go through a few bits of news because we haven't done this for about a week now, and we do have quite a few things to share and to try to tell people about. But I just wondered, Tim, do you have any links you wanted to do first?
No, I mean really just on the final point of the software patent issue, and it's really just a question I wanted to throw to you. And like I say, I'm sort of relying on your experience and knowledge of software patents more than my own, because I have a passing interest and experience only. But very very briefly for the listeners and the people who have tuned into this show, can you tell me, if it was up to you to reform the patent laws, how you would go about doing it? What would you suggest? How do you think things can be made better? Because we've heard a lot of negativity about patents and how it's harmful, and so I'm just very interested to hear in your own words how you would feel they could be reformed. I know the easy answer would be to get rid of software patents completely, but let's say for argument's sake that can't happen. How would you think things could be improved in the future?
It's kind of depends where you look. I suppose in some places it's not really a severe issue just yet. In the United States, you have lots of lawsuits, and people talk about trying to limit the damages or to make it more expensive for companies to sue furiously. In Europe, the best people can try and do is to try and discourage companies from, first of all, obtaining software patents and then actually using them in court. So if companies do try to sue with software patents, as they sometimes do, and they lose the case, based on the notion that software shouldn't be patented, and then they have all these tests of transformation and all kinds of ways of checking if the thing is too abstract. They can try to come up with a conclusion by one of the high courts to say, well, software patents based on these tests are not supposed to be held as to high regards, and they aren't going to be acceptable in a lawsuit, and then no company is going to try this again, and no company is actually going to assert its so-called rights to sue other companies and to try and claim money for it. And this is a way of, without taking away the patents from people, you basically remove the teeth out of the patent. So you just say, well, you've got your patent, we don't take this away from you, because we cannot do that, because you pay to garden the patent and you pay to earn the patent, but you can still keep your patent, but your patent is kind of impotent now. It's not going to be useful for so much. This is what the Bilski case was about. So people were paying close attention to what the Supreme Court was saying in the United States about what's valid and what's not valid. And then you can reference Bilski and say, well, according to these, respectable justices, you can, according to these tests that they present, we don't think your patent is supposed to be seen as reasonably compelling for us. You shouldn't pay for something like page down, because this is a very simple thing. As it stands now, it didn't really change much, so companies can probably still do that. You had this lawsuit against Red Hat and against Novell, for fairly basic things, visual things. So I don't.
I mean, I think, and this is again from my basic understanding, I think though, whatever the court rules is as acceptable or viable as a patent, I think you've always got the case of people settling out of court, which the matters don't even hit the courtroom.
Yeah, that's
just
because
out of fear of, yeah.
Yeah, because of cost. Sure.
So I was going to put something very, very quickly to you, and I hope this doesn't expose my very basic understanding of the patent system. But would this be a good suggestion in the future, that maybe a starting point for reforming patent legislation and patent laws would be that patents are non-transferable, therefore you couldn't have patent trolls that would buy up patents and build up portfolios to attack other people with, and that the patent had to remain with the creator of its the original creator.
That's a way of fighting patent trolls, but it's more of a